Welcome to Unstoppable Real Estate Investing Wealth. My name is Billy Alvaro, aka the Unstoppable BA, former billion-dollar mortgage banker, gone bankrupt, turned professional real estate investor. Where each week you'll learn the tools, strategies, systems, and secrets myself and other highly successful real estate investing entrepreneurs use to start, grow, and scale their businesses, creating massive profits, and how you can too. And we'll teach you how to put those profits to work so you no longer have to. Get ready to finally experience financial freedom and generational wealth. Now let's get started.
What is going on, everybody? This is Billy Alvaro, the Unstoppable BA, and this is Unstoppable Real Estate Investing Wealth. You've been watching the show for a while. You know what it's about. It's about me bringing on the nation's top talent, guys and girls who get what's going on in this real estate industry, getting from where you want to go to where you want to get to. We're going to teach you how to start, grow, and scale your real estate investment business. How do we do that? By picking the brains of the talent that we're going to be interviewing to get them to share their tools, tips, tricks, strategies, and or secrets that got them to where they are to where they are today and where you want to go. So without any further ado, I want to bring on a good friend of mine, Tony Javier from Wichita, Kansas. Tony, what is going on, my man?
What is up, buddy, man? It's good to reconnect again.
You too, brother. How is it? Look at those pearly whites, by the way. I never met a guy with whiter teeth than mine. Like, you should be in Colgate commercials.
It's the ring light. It's the ring light that's doing that.
I love it, man. So, Tone, listen, give us a little background. I've known you for many years now, and I know you've been in the industry for about 20 years. Let's just give the listeners a little backstory of who you are and how you got into this business, and then we'll fast forward to what you're doing today.
Yeah, so I started in 2001. Carlton Sheets No Down Payment System is how I got started. Bought that $200 product on TV back in the day. Ended up dropping out of college with 9 hours left to graduate and started my business. Just started buying properties with no money down, just like the system showed. And, you know, the first 10 years were fun, but they were a big struggle at the same time. So the first 10 years, it was a lot of figuring things out. It was hiring the wrong people. It was finding the right contractors and going through a lot of the wrong contractors. So the first 10 years are dramatically different than the second 10 years. First 10 years, like I just said, were just a huge learning curve. And then about 10 years ago, 10 years into the business, I had kind of a mental breakdown and a breakthrough at the same time. I fired my whole staff for the second time. They were stealing. They were not showing up. Like it was just not fun. And I just totally fired them all. Fired them all. Within about a 2 to 4 week period. It started with a couple, and then at one point I was just like, I'm done. Like I just need to get rid of all you guys and just take the whole business back, which was tough because, as you know, when you're going in a certain direction, you think you're growing, and all of a sudden you got to like restart. It's like, what's going on? Am I in the right business? Am I doing the right thing? Like, what is going on? So I made a few big changes. First changes, I hired better people. Second thing is I decided I need better processes and systems, because once I started taking everything back, it wasn't as systemized as I want it to be.
Sure.
And then the other big thing was finding people that have done what I want to do and hiring them as coaches or being a part of their mastermind groups, right? Like getting around the people that can get me where I want to be. And so I told myself that I was going to get my business automated enough to where I could step out of the business and not have to run it anymore. I was just tired of it. So hired my sister, was my first big hire. And then from there, I just started hiring better quality people, started putting better systems in place, started surrounding myself with better people that were doing high level things. And within about 4 years, I was able to step out of my real estate business that ran 97%, I would say, on its own, and still does now, and was able to move to San Diego, California, where I live now. So again, I tell you, the first 10 years are dramatically different than these last 10 years. And now I just love the automation that I put into the business. And now I'm able to do a lot of things like this, like, you know, your podcast, as well as, you know, help other real estate investors and grow their businesses that I've been able to start up and grow.
So I heard 3 things that I want to listen. I don't want to gloss over. So the 3 things I heard is that your people, number one, there was a problem in the front end, and people, as we know, is in this business, if you want to scale up and pull yourself out, one of the most important things you need is quality individuals in the right seats. So you got that squared away on the second round, the second 10 years. You also said that your processes and systems were all banged up and you didn't have the right systems in the beginning. We all know systems and people, marry them together, your company is going to scale. Like it can go to the moon and back if you have the right systems and people. So you got that squared away. The third piece is, what did you say the third piece was? You had a third piece that you were putting in, the people, the processes?
Yeah. Either getting the right people, surrounding yourself with the right people in masterminds and things of that nature. Yeah, so that's where we met. We met at a high level mastermind. Yep. And getting help from coaches and other people that have been where you want to be. So in 2010, when I went through this whole thing, I ended up hiring a coach that did not have to go to properties, did not have to meet with sellers, did not meet with buyers. He was basically like, I was like, how does he do that? How does he not meet with sellers? How does he not manage, construction projects? Like I wanted my hands on all of that. Yeah. And I realized that I didn't need to do that. I realized I didn't like to do that as much as I thought I did. And I have people in my business that do those jobs better than I ever did and like them better than I do.
Those last two parts, which every successful person I've had on this podcast have in common, is coaches and masterminds. And it's key. Like people don't realize, they say I pay in some cases $60,000 a year to be coached by certain people, $25,000 in other coaching programs, $15,000 a quarter in certain programs. So it's like, if you invest in the right coaches, you invest in the right masterminds, which you and I met in a mastermind, and they teach you how to attract the right people, plug in the right systems. Like you're proof, because your business now is humming. You're very rarely there. I mean, you said what, 97% of it's running without you right now on the real estate investment side?
It's probably now 99%. I literally work less than 3 hours in that business, just approving contracts, looking at budgets, just basic, or I say basic, just the high level stuff that I need to still keep my hands on.
And you're living full-time in California, and most of your business is done where you previously used to live in Wichita?
100% is done in Wichita, Kansas. Yeah.
100%. Okay. So just let's go dive in just for 2 minutes, 5 minutes. How are you doing that virtually with you living in California and doing everything in Wichita?
Well, just like we talked about, people and systems. So I have really good people that work for me. So I've got my sister, who's my operations manager, has been with me for 10 years now. I hired her for that reason, is that I knew that she could get my business to this level, to where I knew that she ran her other company and was basically the hub of it. And when I brought her on board, I basically did the same thing with my company, as I started her in a certain position, and now she's the hub of everything. Right. And so then
your integrator, your COO of the company.
Yeah, I guess I'd call her an integrator. If there's something I need done, I give it to her and I know it's done. So yeah, I mean, I don't officially call her an integrator, but she is. I mean, she integrates pretty much anything that I give her. And then on the other side of it, like I said, systems, like I've got a CPA that comes in every week, does all the books, pays off all the credit cards, sends me the statements. I can look at them within 3 minutes. I can say, okay, everything looks good, or hey, something's off, and I'll just email the questions to my team and say, hey, why is this off, or why did we not meet these numbers, or whatever it is. So financials takes me less than 5 minutes each week in that business.
Great.
And then when it comes to contracts, we've got a system put together. Then my team puts a property under contract. They email it to me. Same thing. Within 2 minutes, I can pull up the pictures. I know the areas. I can pull up the comps really quickly. If I really want to dive into the budget, I can, but I never do. It's like, when my project manager sends me a $30,000 to $50,000 budget, usually they're within $1,000 to $2,000 at the end of the job. So I don't even go into the budgets anymore. And then once they put it on the market, they send me the offers on the property, because you usually get multiple offers. And they'll tell me which one they think is best. I'll look at it, prove it. And so any given deal, I spend, maybe 10 or 15 minutes on that deal. Whereas when I was in the business, I would spend, I don't know how many hours, 10, 15, 20, 30 hours. I don't even know what the number is, but I'd spend a lot of freaking time, not only a lot of time, but a lot of energy. Yeah. You know how much energy those projects can suck up.
Yeah. And a lot of mind energy, man. It just wears you the hell out. Do you have any plans, Tony, in the future to bring on somebody that's actually going to replace you? So him or her is going to be your operations person to oversee, to look at the budgets, to look at the deal review, and just basically give you reports at the end of the month saying, hey, Tone, here's where the company's at. You plan on doing that, or it's not in the cards? Well,
here's my thing. I'm already very highly leveraged, so I don't spend a lot of time in that, but I know that the time that I do spend on that, I get tens of thousands of dollars back, and maybe tens of thousands. I get a lot in return. What I mean by that is that I still feel like I have that instinct that my team doesn't quite have. When they send me something, I can say, hey, do this differently, and we could save $5,000 just like that.
Yeah.
You know, whether it's like, hey, there's a $15,000 septic system that needs to be replaced. I've exhausted all these efforts, and I'm like, okay, well, why don't you have the buyer pay $5,000? You know, there's just stuff that they didn't think about that I can still be in the business and still save quite a bit of money. So the answer is I probably can and maybe should, but I still feel like my dollar per hour for the time that I spend in that business is probably, you know, at least $1,000 to $5,000 an hour would be my guess.
Yeah. So I do something very similar. We have a Wednesday meeting that I have with the whole entire staff, and it starts at 9 o'clock. It usually ends at about 12:31. And we meet with the finance department. We meet with the rehab department. We meet with operations and sales. And we literally go through every single deal that's in the pipeline to purchase, every single deal that's being rehabbed, and every single deal that's on the market being sold. And I'm on this call, and my whole reason for being there is not to micromanage. It's to listen. And when I hear that there's an issue with something, within 30 seconds to 5 minutes, I figured out how to resolve that issue, cut back, save time, drop money to the bottom line, get rid of a judgment that's on title, like something that is going to push the pipeline forward. That's what my expertise is. And I hate being on the call for 4 hours, but at the same time, like it's time well spent because the pipeline just constantly moves. And during the week, I don't really have to get involved with all the bullshit. All my stuff in New York. I'm living in New Jersey. We have construction companies back and forth, New York and New Jersey. And like you, it's a few minutes out of each day on my cell phone, a text here, an email there. But for the most part, the business is humming. But I need a COO. I'm eventually going to have to bring somebody else in, because as we're scaling, I'm noticing that if I didn't have to get involved with certain things, I can go out and do bigger deals, which is going to bring in bigger money. And you know, instead of making $1,000 an hour, we could be making 25, 30, 50,000 an hour on these larger deals.
Yeah, totally. And I guess to touch on what you said about a COO, I do have multiple companies right now that I have my hands in, you know, multiple of these companies. So rather than hiring one COO for one company, I probably plan on hiring someone to oversee all of them. And that way, instead of me having to put my hands in each one of them a little bit, he brings all of that to me. We brainstorm this whole thing. Then he goes back to those businesses and figures out how to sort it out. That way I don't have to be in those businesses anymore. Yeah,
that's the right way to do it. So listen, I want to get into really why I have you on the program today, brother, because you've been doing something very special, and you've kind of been doing it like under the radar until this past year. Like, I found that you are like the expert when it comes down to marketing in a certain way. So I've had a lot of people on the show. They market with telemarketing and text blasting and email and cold calls and radio. But you are the first that I've had on this program that has mastered the art and the science of driving in highly qualified leads through one of the oldest and best channels out there, which is TV. So I want to get into picking your brain on how did you get into it and how you're making money with this program. Because I've tried this years back, and TV just didn't work in the markets I was in. I got crap leads, but I know I didn't have it systematized. I know there's a lot of shit I could have been doing differently, which is why I have you on here, because I want to pick your brain and then probably leverage your system in my market to start cranking out this TV all over again. So let's get into, what has TV done for your business?
So I've been doing TV for almost a decade now, 9 years technically. And the way that it came about is I had a friend that invited me to a poker game one night. And there was a guy at the poker game that owned a construction company that was on TV. And I didn't know the guy. I just knew him from TV. And for me, you know, when you have someone on TV, it's like kind of that celebrity status, right? Yeah. So to me, it was kind of a cool thing. Like, this guy's been on TV, whatever. And so I'm talking to him. He's just a normal guy, good guy, right? And he's like, man, I said, how are your TV commercials doing? I see you on TV all the time. And he's like, dude, I'm crushing it. He's like, this is like, it's such an easy channel to be on. It builds so much credibility. And he's like, we get so much work from it. He goes, I'll tell you what, he goes, I have a media buyer that buys my media for me. You need to connect with him. So literally called him the next day. And this guy was just unbelievable. He talked me through the process. He helped me produce the commercial. I produced the scripts. He kind of helped me tweak them. And so he was very instrumental on getting me from not knowing anything about TV to getting on TV. And in my first month, getting a 10x return on the first month that I was on TV. So I spent $3,000 on TV, popped a $35,000 deal. And pretty much in the last 9 years, I have automated TV to where we're talking about automation. This is one of the most automated marketing channels you can have. Last year, I spent probably a few hours on TV. I shot 2 new commercials. I met with my media buyer like once or twice just to check to see if our schedules were good. But other than that, it produced a 10x return last year, all year. And I spent 3 hours on that last year. Wow. Now, my team had to spend time converting the leads, right? Sure. Of course, they have to do that. But from a standpoint of like looking at all the other marketing channels, like you have to, direct mail, you have to buy a list, you have to tweak your list. In text messaging, like every single day, you have your team doing something in text messaging, responding to messages. But with TV, it's so automated that I don't spend a lot of time on it. And it's one of the highest, if not the highest returns that I get on a marketing channel, not only on my money, but especially on my time.
I'm sure. 10X is like almost unheard of. I've had a few different marketing channels for us that were 10X. And then over the years in the Northeast region, they've kind of got compressed and we went from 10X to 5X to some of them like Google, I had to cancel out because it just wasn't giving me a return on my investment. What markets are you specifically, your company, where are you marketing? Just Wichita?
Just Wichita, Kansas. Yep.
Okay. Give us an idea of when you're launching these commercials. Is it one specific channel that you figured out works, or is it multiple channels that you're marketing on?
Yeah. So we've tested and tweaked so many things throughout the last 9 years. We've tested our message. We've tested our commercials. I've tested how I act on the commercials. We've tested so many different things. We've tested different schedules as you we're kind of getting to on what stations we air on, what shows we air on. So the interesting thing about TV is people think that it's really expensive, and it can be if you're on the wrong channels or on the wrong shows. But I've actually invested in the very expensive shows, and I have invested in very inexpensive shows. And luckily, I found that our demographic of motivated seller is watching TV programs that are not that expensive, right? And so
like Jerry Springer and shit like that.
Totally, that's funny. People guess that all the time. That's right. Jerry Springer is one of the shows that we air on. And so
Marlboros, and they drink Coors Lights.
They're third shift workers. Maybe they're blue collar. They're laid off. They're not working for some reason. They're in a tough situation. So there's shows that we know during the day that we have been on that have worked very well for us.
So when you're doing the marketing, because I've tested as well, talk to the audience in regards to broadcast versus cable, what that is and what the price differential may be between the both.
Yeah, so we don't do any cable shows or cable networks, and the reason being is that we want to be on all of the local stations. So we want to be on CBS, ABC, NBC, Fox, because there's so many different different streaming, like YouTube TV, for instance. Like we're on YouTube TV. There's some channels that YouTube TV doesn't get. There's Hulu and all these other, things that have come about in the last 5 to 10 years. So we make sure that we're on stations and shows that we know that air in a lot of different places, as opposed to places that may not air. So we hit a lot of people in our marketing with a small amount of money. And I think that's one of the reasons that works. And I've got many other reasons that we can dive into here in just a little bit on why TV works so well.
Yeah. So I know you have a list of, the top 10 reasons why TV works and why people should do it. Let's go into the top 5 to give the listeners, like, what would you say number one reason, or number 5 of the number one? So start from the bottom and kind of go up.
Yeah. So first of all, credibility. I mean, think about all of the big brands, right? If I don't even know if cereal commercials still air these days, but like Tony the Tiger, we're great. Lucky Charms, Magically Delicious. Like, you know those brands and you trust them because they've been on TV and you've seen them for so long. Like, literally, I don't know, maybe it's been 20 years since those commercials aired, but I still remember them, and they're still credible companies or brands because I saw them on TV. So it builds so much credibility for your business. And then just imagine, like, all of the real estate investors out there, there's not much competition. So you being on there, you have way more credibility than any other investor. I mean, if you look at your market, there's probably nobody in your market that's doing it. Or if there is somebody, there's still more room for it because there's not very many people doing it. And some people just don't do it correctly. They don't have a really good system they put in place to do it. So that's number one. So two, as I kind of mentioned, is there's little to no competition. Texting, cold calling, postcards. So many people are hitting those channels, but TV has little to no competition. I think it's because people think it's way too expensive. They think it's really hard to produce, and the process of getting on TV is really tough. And I've made it really simple with my program to get someone from knowing nothing about TV to getting on the air in about 30 days. I made it that simple.
No shit.
So yep, totally. It's totally. It's as you know, once you have a system in place, like if someone hands you a system, then all you have to do is follow it, right? If you start something else on your own, like I said, for the first 10 years in business, like I had to figure all this stuff out because I didn't reach out for help. I didn't have anybody else's system. But once I plugged into someone's system, within a few years, it's like I'm completely out of my business. So
right. You could invest time, energy, and money into building it yourself, or you could plug into somebody else's who's already spent that time, energy, and money, and you can get rock and rolling. And with your process, you said, 30 days, somebody's up and running, and the ads are out there and the calls are coming in.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I just got a text yesterday or the day before. Within 2 weeks, one of my students had 20 leads, 5 appointments, 2 deals under contract. They're going to make over $30,000 within the first 2 weeks he was on air. And he spent $1,850 in his first month. Now that's on the low end. Yeah, I recommended he spent at least $3,000, but he wanted to spend $1,850 because he wanted to compare it to another marketing channel. But he's completely crushing it right now in his first month.
What market is
that? Lexington, Kentucky. Yeah,
I like it.
So number 3 is high return on investment. So I've already talked about it. Because there's no competition, you typically, and because you don't have so many people hitting the same person. Like, think about it. If someone is watching TV and they see you and they're thinking about selling down the road and you catch them in the right time, they're going to call you and they're not calling anybody else. If somebody gets 10 postcards, they're going to call 2, 3, 4, 5 of the best postcards. Sure. If someone is getting a text message, it's probably not a very good lead. And so, you're really going to have to talk that person into selling. So for those reasons, your return on investment, I feel like, is going to be lower in those channels because there's more competition. Whereas with TV, if they're calling you, we found that they're probably not calling anybody else, right? And in the ROI that I gave you for 10X does not include all the other benefits. It doesn't include the private money I've raised. I've had someone walk in our office because they saw our TV commercial and said, hey, I want to invest in real estate. And within a year, he had $1 million invested with us.
Unbelievable.
And all the other marketing channels it helps, right? So that doesn't include, we did not include when someone called us from one of our postcards and said, we got 5 other postcards, but we called you and wanted to see what you had to say first before we called them because we've seen your TV commercials. Yeah, and we've gotten deals before anybody else. Yep. Yeah. There's just that celebrity status that you have once your brand is on TV.
I think you're right on though with this whole TV thing right now, because everybody is online, internet, everybody is direct mail, everybody's saturated in these other markets that it's really low entry barrier. Like anybody can start doing a texting program, but on the TV side, you do have to invest. Even though it's inexpensive, you still have to invest time, energy, and money, or they can just invest with you and get your course and get streamlined up. But the whole TV thing, years ago, if you remember, man, there were thousands of commercials. Like you couldn't get off the TV, mortgage companies and rehab companies and construction companies. And now it seems like the TV, there's not so many commercials at all. So it really could be wide open for this whole investment piece. Do you think it works in every market?
I know that I would say yes. There are markets that probably work better. I would say small to mid-sized markets probably work a little bit better because your reach is a lot better with less amount of money. But we've got people in big markets that are crushing it too. I know a guy. I've got a guy in San Diego that's spending $20,000 to $30,000 a month, and he's getting a 5x return on his money. So I know it still works in the bigger markets, but I think the smaller markets.
That's a sick return in San Diego. 5 times your money in San Diego is big because we all know very tough markets. San Diego's tough. Arizona's tough. Like hard markets to make money in right now.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yep. So we'll move on to number 4, which is something people don't think about a lot. And I've already mentioned it once, is high return on time. So not just return on investment, but return on time. I spent 3 hours last year on TV, and that is probably the least I spent in any other marketing channel. You know, for postcards, like we have to source new lists. We have to take all the return mail that comes back and take them off the list. We have to get phone calls and people say, quit sending us letters. I mean, it's just, there's so much
a lot of crap
maintenance in other leads, which, I mean, that's why some of them have a high return, but you have to think about the return on time. Like I'm all about automation these days. You know, you and I talked about like scaling, and for me, scaling is not necessarily flipping more houses. I like flipping houses, but now I lend money to people who flip houses. Like that's leverage to me, and TV is leverage in marketing. So that was number 4. So number 5 is, and I touched on this as well, is you just get much higher quality of leads. So not only is it more automated, you spend less time doing the marketing, but also you get less leads in that are higher quality. So you don't have to have such a big team to do deals. In fact, I've got one guy right now that is in 3 different markets. He called me a couple of days ago and he said, hey, I want to buy 2 more markets. He's like, I'm sick of direct mail. I'm sick of cold calling and texting. He goes, I'm going to scale up my business and do deals in multiple markets using TV, because all I have to do is take my commercial, change the phone number, and put it in a different market. And I'm getting so much better quality of leads, and I don't have to have a huge team that's sifting through 30 to 50 leads to get a deal. I'd rather do TV, spend the money on that, and only have to go through maybe 10, 15, or 20 leads to get a deal. Because as you know, Billy, it's getting tougher and tougher to do deals. I mean, the amount of deals we have to look at now is so much higher than it used to be.
Yeah, there's a lot, at least in where we're located, New York and New Jersey, a lot more retail deals that are coming across our desk. People who really, the houses don't need much work. It's really a listing. And we're finding that we're getting compressed with the amount of high quality deals that have some sort of an issue that we can buy for cash. But I just want to play devil's advocate for a second in regards to the TV piece. So you said the leads coming in are more specialized. I would think because you're casting a big net. You're not going out like direct mail where you could get a list that's a niche list and send out a direct mail piece to it. You're putting out a message on TV to everybody, to the masses. So talk to the audience, talk to me. When those leads come in, you're saying they're better quality. You don't have like a big gamut of like a bag of shit, a mixed bag of crap that's coming across. You know, every Joe, Dick, and Harry's calling to say, hey, so you're adding TV. You know, I want to sell my property. What's your price? And there's no issues.
Yeah, no, that's interesting. You would think that. But I was actually talking to one of my guys yesterday that's launching TV, and we were talking about quality of lead. And you know, we didn't get very many leads from TV this month, but we put 4 deals under contract from TV. 4 deals out of like, I don't know, 10 leads or something like that. Wow. And so, yeah, and you would think, like you said, you're casting a broad net. But I feel like we're probably pretty good with our message that people know that we're looking for fixer-upper deals. We're not looking for retail deals, but we do get retail deals. And if we do get retail deals, we still refer those out to real estate agents. They list those properties, and we get referral fees from that. And we have students that have a real estate sales team, and for those, it's a total no-brainer because they could probably pay for their ad spend just from the sales they do on the retail side, and then anything they do on the investment side is just gravy.
Yeah, you hit it on the head though. You're getting quality leads because your message to market is a complete match. And so you're putting out a really good message to your people. Did you split test and figure out if it's better off to have it branded with the personality like yourself, the company owner on the screen, or just to have more of a generic TV type commercial that doesn't have the face of the company on it? Have you done split test that way?
I have not. And in fact, I thought about doing that. So right now, you know, over the last 9 years, I've tested different things. Now that I've got the program and I've got people in a lot of markets, I'm actually getting ready to start testing a lot more variables. But for me, like, I've ran one commercial for over 12 months before, right? Because I've ran the commercial, it worked month one, and it continued to work for 12 months. Sure. So I didn't change the message. So honestly, I haven't had to do a lot of testing. The only reason I've done testing is just because I want the message to be better. So when I've changed my messages, there have been some messages that I've put out that completely bombed, and then I just went back to the old message. But really, most of the times when I created a new message was just to see if I could do a little bit better than the last message.
I love it.
So yeah, so I you know, and the great thing about what I have now is I've got students in markets all over the country. So now we're getting data for all of our students throughout the country on what's working and what's not. So it's not just me now, it's now all of our students. So when people plug into our program, they plug into the network of all the students throughout the country.
Let's talk about your program, Real Estate Masters TV. Tell what is the program? What does it consist of? How do people get their hands on it? And what's the actual cost that they have to invest into it?
Yeah, so the way the program works is it's not like a typical program where you just get the program and you just go off on your own and you figure it out, right? I know for me, if getting started in TV, I had my media buyer. He was able to produce the commercial, talk me through it, get me the schedules, negotiate the best prices, and get me on the air very quickly. So when I put together this program, because I've had people for the last 5 to 10 years be like, "You're doing TV? I've never heard of anybody doing TV for real estate investing," right?
And having it work. There's people who do it, but it's hard to make it work. You've cracked the code to get this marketing process to work for you.
Yeah, there are some people that I've heard try it, but there are so many that are like, I've never heard of TV for real estate. Like to this day, high level investors doing hundreds of deals a year, or have done hundreds of deals. They're like, I've never heard of anybody doing TV, or maybe I've heard of one person or whatever. You know, you talk about cold calling and texting, all those, you could probably find hundreds just by throwing a rock, right? And so with the program, it's something that you can easily plug into and get 10 years worth of information in a short, quick program where we show you what has worked, we show you what hasn't worked, and it is a system that we have tweaked over the last 9 years to get to that 10x return, right? So not only, again, are we giving you the program, but we're also going to take you from when you get the program all the way to getting on the air. So we're going to help you produce the commercial. We're going to do the media buying and negotiations for you. So my media guy that helped me, I have enough faith in him that he's working with our students all throughout the country to help them get the best rates, to get on the shows that we know have worked for us. And he will be there every single month if you need something to change, tweak, whatever it is you need with the media buys, and continue to produce new commercials for you throughout your real estate investing career. So it's as much of a done for you program as possible as you want it to be. So really the only thing the students have to do is they have to plug into the program, know what the program is. They have to decide which of the commercials that we give them that they want to shoot, go shoot the commercial, and then we handle everything from there, other than converting the leads, which they have to do or their team has to do.
So it's really a turnkey program, dude. Like you're giving them everything, including your resources, your marketing buyer, which is key to making this whole thing work. You can find somebody that buys you ads at the right numbers in the right market with your program. You're going to give them the messages that works, your whole system turnkey.
Yep, absolutely.
Is it area specific, or like is it 10 people going to be in a market and have it saturated with TV?
No, we don't saturate the market. So my media guy's been in the business for 20 years, right? So he knows the media business. He knows what the saturation points are. So we went through every single market and we said, how many people do we think we could have per market? So the small markets are going to be one person in the market. So we've had many markets sell out just with one person saying, hey, I want to do Bakersfield, and bam, that market's gone. The mid-sized markets are probably 2 people in that market. And then the big markets, which, you know, $1 million plus, I would say, there's enough room for 3 people. I mean, this whole TV game is wide open. And even in some of the markets where we will sell 3 people and have sold 3 people, like there's still room to grow, but we'd like to cap it at a certain point where we're not saturating it, potentially not saturating it too much.
So the next question is, your system, 10 years of putting it together, proven methodology, like turnkey, you're going to be knocking people over the head and charging them like $100 grand for your system, right?
When I tell people the price of the system, they think that I'm kidding because it's so cheap compared to what they get. And you and I talked before. So for Billy's listeners, we are going to give them a discount. So we set up a special site for Billy, realestatemasterstv.com/Billy. We will give those students even a further discount from our program. But yeah, it's not nearly as expensive as you think it would be. Because if you go to a media agency or a, what do they call it? Just, I guess, an advertising agency, they don't have the data for that, for real estate investing, because chances are they haven't worked with a real estate investor. So we have that data. They're going to charge you a lot of money to produce the commercial. I don't know what they charge, probably 5, 10, 15 grand. I remember a few years ago, I had someone price a 30-second or 1-minute video for my website, and it was like 10 grand. And I'm like, are you kidding me? Like, I can put together that same thing with my team for, you know, a fraction of the cost.
Sure.
So if you go just the commercial by itself is probably going to be $10,000, and then they're going to charge you $1,000 or more a month just to manage your account and make you spend a certain amount of money. So our program is very dialed in on our industry. It's got the numbers for our industry. And my guy has been working with me and many of our students that are doing real estate investing. So we have way more data, and we're way more efficient in getting you on TV.
Boom. And you're giving all my people that are listening, you're going to give them a nice little discount. Right?
Absolutely. Just for you, Billy.
I appreciate you, man. I honestly do. Look, I'm probably going to be taking your spot for New York and New Jersey. I'm going to get one and the other because, you know, like this year is all about scaling for us again. I'm like head first into the business for 3 years, Tony. I don't know if you and I spoke to you about it, but I kind of like went to the backside. I was working maybe 10 hours a week, loving life, but the pandemic hit and I like went full-fledged right back in to the business. So unlike you, where you're spending 97% of your time outside the business, I'm working probably 60 hours a week right now. Not in the real estate business, but I'm working to build a lot of these other organizations that I have this vision for. And so marketing and TV is going to be one of them for 2021. I'm psyched. I can't wait to bring you back on, report my results with your program. And I'm going to try as hard as I can to keep people in my markets out because I want those leads coming in over to me. Tone, where can people find you online?
Well, just go to realestatemasterstv.com/Billy. That's the only place you need to go right now. Go there, check out the program, and I'd love to get some of your listeners in. And by the way, Billy, just want to give you props, man. I love your energy. I love the stuff you're putting out online. You're one of the guys that I just love your energy, man. I love what you're doing, and I appreciate you having me on and trusting me to be a part of this podcast.
Tone, likewise, bro. I mean, you're a solid individual. You're a giver. When I came out to California, you picked me up in your Tulsa. It was like, you're an amazing, amazing individual, bro. And I've been watching you for the last 6 years, and your story, your growth, your personality, how you and your wife met Tony Robbins. Like, you're an individual that I resonate with. We're the same. We just live in different parts of the country. So anything I could do for you in the future, bro, and I mean that sincerely, anything, just hit me up. You're a rock star, and I really appreciate you.
Thanks, buddy. Appreciate you, man.
Peace out, bro.
See you, bud.
Thank you so much for listening to today's episode of Unstoppable Real Estate Investing Wealth. My mission is to give you, my listeners, the blueprint for success, the insider secrets for starting, growing, and scaling your real estate investing business so you can experience and live the unstoppable lifestyle. I've made it simple for you. To catapult yourself to success, go to billyssecrets.com. That's BILLYS secrets.com. There you will find every single tool, tip, trick, strategy, system, and secret used to make millions of dollars as a real estate investor. everything my team uses and my guests use all in one place for you to tap into so you can start, grow, and scale your real estate investing business. I really hope you implement what you're learning. I hope you utilize these tools, tips, tricks, strategies, and secrets. And I hope to see you on the next episode. God bless. Bye-bye.